Good morning. Let's start by doing the form. So, in the immortal words of our teacher Baton, let's do the kicks. So, we started out with squatting down and coming up into the first of the Golden Pheasants on the last session, and so we're going to pick it up from there. Let's do both of the Golden Pheasants from single whip now, just to kind of get ourselves in the frame of that piece of the form. So, single whip. Front foot's pointing straight ahead. Rear foot is at the correct angle for you in this moment. Your lower back is relaxed. Your chest is hanging. Your arms come up easily. Work it till you've got as little tension as possible, holding your arms in place. Left wrist in front of shoulder, elbow dangles. Right wrist is about the height of your shoulder. Don't worry about how much your elbow is bent or how far back your hand is facing. Get it so that you're comfortable. Hold it here a sec, because you can never spend too much time exploring the most auspicious posture to hold. So get yourself in a good shape. Take a few good breaths. And begin squatting down. Coming across, spiraling. Leading with the fingertips to come up. Right side releases. All the weight's in your left leg. Gather into the ground and let that help you bring one knee up. And then the other. So as one side comes down, let your left hand wake up. And hold it here a sec. Let your bottom hand be like the opening posture so that it gives you some stability, helps you balance out what's happening on the other side. And take a break. So we've been looking at how you release the foot from the ground, not by lifting up, but by rebalancing the empty leg so that it easily floats off the ground. The ball is the last thing to leave the ground. When you think about bringing your leg up and you lift from above, it won't be the last thing to come off the ground. You'll pick up the whole foot together. And I want to talk about what the aspiration of this final posture is, which is that the knee is quite high. It wants to come up. Ben would tell us knee touch elbow. You don't have to touch your elbow, but that tells us that the knee ideally comes up pretty high. One of the things that happens here, a little anatomy lesson for you, is that the muscles that you lift your leg with that are just the leg only go so far because the top of your leg is here. How do you get your knee up higher than where all this is? Well, you need to use the psoas muscle. I like to joke that the Rolfers really like the psoas, and we joke that it's Boulder's favorite muscle because there's so many Rolfers in Boulder and the Rolfing Institutes in Boulder and all that. So let's get to know Boulder's favorite muscle. At this point, I want you to stop and get a chair, because we're going to play around sitting in a chair and exploring what's going on in the muscles. So first let me describe, as Lee brings us chairs, I will describe the psoas, because I think this is kind of fascinating, and this is what core strength is about. And that's what's required to make these moves happen. So the psoas attaches to the knob at the top of your thigh on the inside, and it comes through the pelvis, and it comes up. It's actually called the iliopsoas because part of it attaches to your ilium, the inside of your pelvis, and comes up inside there. And the other part of it goes underneath the pelvis and comes up attaching to your spine, all the way up, actually comes up until you're at the base of your diaphragm. So there's a way that your breathing connects to your leg, and Chung Man Ching would tell us to breathe from the soles of your feet. Well, there actually is a path that leads that there. But what I want you to do, you got your chair now? So sit at the very edge of it. I want you to sit so that your sit bones are dropping right down, your feet are flat on the ground, and you don't have obstructions here. And first, just pick up your leg from on top. Just lift your thigh. And notice how, and you can change legs however often you want. Notice how when you do that, it picks the whole foot up as a piece, and it engages these muscles up here, and that's as far as it goes, because that's where the top of those muscles are. They can't lift it higher than they actually are. But your psoas can. So now I want you to take your hands, put them underneath your thigh and the crook of your knee. Relax your leg as much as possible so that this is heavy. You're lifting your leg up. And notice that when you first go to take it off the ground, how when that happens, the ball will be the last thing to come up off the ground. And now, as you sit here, lift it up. And now you can get it a lot higher than you were able to get it before, because you're actually using that psoas muscle that runs all through inside your spine and inside your pelvis to help you get that leg up. So get that feeling. Notice what that's like. See if you can make sure that the lower leg doesn't get cocked in any weird way. So your leg, as you sit here, one of the reasons I want you to sit in a chair is so that you can really let go of the muscles and feel that leg really loose and bring it up. Make sure you're not leaning back. I can lean back and get it up. That's a lot different. Stay upright, keep in your sit bones, and just drop the leg into your hands, and then let your hands lift it up. And you can do it on the other side if you haven't already. And kind of grease that joint. And the psoas is hard to feel because it's so deep inside and it's not terribly innervated. We don't get a lot of feedback about the psoas. But whether or not you feel it, you have to use it to get your leg up this high. So now that you've had that feeling a little bit, try doing it without your hands. The idea is that the leg is lifted from below. And so notice what that takes. Go ahead and do it on each side. See if you can get that feeling. You might be able to get it higher when you grab it with your hand, but still try and get it up, keeping your body upright. So this is hard work. Sit bones on the chair. Please reminding me to say sit bones on the chair. So keep your sit bones on the chair. Don't let it roll. And feel it come up. And go ahead and use your hands again if you want to get that feeling. I just want you to notice, you can feel it inside. Something has to work to make this happen, even when you just take it with your hands and lift it up. There's a lot going on deep inside. So getting that feeling of how the leg comes up and what muscles are engaged to do it. It's hard to stay upright, not roll around, keep your weight in your sit bones. Your sit bones are like your feet here, and you got to keep your weight in them. You don't want to roll to bring the leg up. You want to stay as upright as you can. That's why you want to be right at the edge of your seat and get that feeling. You might notice one leg works better than the other. That's we're not as symmetrical as we look. But go ahead and get that feeling. And Lee's pointing out the other thing that happens. So when we do this move standing up, it's very tempting to do a little bit of this. And you see what's happening to me. I'm lifting from one side and it's making my whole body tilt. So as you play with this on the chair, be really assiduous about both sit bones. So you want to make sure that you're not doing this when you bring the leg up. You want to keep everything as much as possible in alignment. Make sure that the leg that's coming up has the sit bone sticking to the chair as well as the one that is still down on the ground. So as you go ahead and do it with your hands again, bringing some awareness to the sit bones, and feel how as your leg comes up, you can still keep the sit bone on the ground, on the chair. That's really important. And once you get that feeling, then do it without your hand and keep that same feeling of the sit bone adhering to the chair. That tells you whether or not you're rolling. If your sit bone comes up off the chair, that means that the whole body has skewed just to bring that leg up. We'd want to keep the hips level when the knee comes up, however far it comes up. If it only comes up this far, you still want to keep it level. You don't want it to come up like that. So, got a good feeling for the chair now? Let's go beyond the chair and try to find this feeling inside. So now we can just, I've encouraged you to use a little something for balance and all that if necessary. And, if that helps you get this feeling, go ahead. Yes, you can use your chair. And it's just something to keep you from falling over. But what I want you to do is the same action that you were just doing. I don't care how high your knee comes. Ideally, it can come up pretty high. But what I really care about is that you're not just lifting from above, but that you're releasing the sit bone into your virtual chair and letting the knee come straight up. And feel how that's the same action that you were working with in the chair. Notice if you start lifting. You should be able to become aware of that now because we were just doing it in the chair. The leg does not come up from up here like this. You want to keep all this down and let the knee come up as if you were a marionette and there's a string on your knee, and that string is going to pull up your leg. Also, notice that when you lift from above, go ahead and try to pick your leg up from the thigh. It doesn't actually go into your knee. You feel it, I feel it down in my foot and I feel it across here, but I don't feel the knee being the leading edge. You want the knee to be the leading edge here. So reorient yourself, realign, and get the knee to be what's the leading edge. Thanks for the chair. And the thing about using the chair is that you can relax more because you're not having to call on muscles to keep you from falling over. Your finger's there to keep you from falling over, so you can actually let go and explore what's happening in the legs themselves. So now let's do that same sequence again with this in mind. Okay, so you know how to get yourself into a good single whip. So find your way there. Arms relaxed, belly relaxed, lower back relaxed, and begin. Spiral, coming up. Now gathering into the left, knee is leading, keeping your sit bones on the chair. Right side comes down, left hand wakes up. And rest your legs. I'm not going to rest mine right now because I want to show you that when the knee comes up, the foot hangs a little bit. The idea is that this is a knee kick. So if I am like this, it's not a knee kick anymore. It's a kick with the foot. So as the knee comes up, when you're making this feeling that it's, there's like a giant beach ball underneath you and it inflates and brings your leg up. That will keep the foot from getting in the way of the knee kick. If you were thinking of its function, you're giving somebody a knee in the crotch. And if I give somebody a knee in the crotch and I bring up my foot like this, it's not a knee in the crotch, it's a foot to his knee. I want it to be knee in the crotch. So the foot, not that I'm doing anything to pull the foot back, this is a diagnostic that tells you, are you bringing it up from with the Tai Chi feeling, or are you just lifting your leg up in the air? And there's always a connection to ground that then you can use to send the other side up. If you just think lift this side up, then it's going to put you in a different shape and you won't be doing this move quite, even if it seems like it. So make sure that the knee is leading, and what will happen is it will keep the toes from being out ahead of the knee. Let's do that piece another couple times, and then I think I'll turn it over to you, Lee. So get yourself in a good, comfortable position. The most auspicious posture to hold. So see how little effort you can use. Relaxing your lower back, softening the chest, and begin. Gathering into the ground, coming up into the knee and fingertips. Hang out here a moment, if you can. And just try to let everything go. Hard place. Right side starts to come down, left hand wakes up. Right foot goes down at an angle, hands pass each other, come up the other side. Get it till you're comfortable standing here. And rest your legs. Let's just do it again. We'll hold each of those postures for a sec. Go. Squatting down. Golden Pheasant stands on left leg. Hold it here a sec. Right side comes down, left hand wakes up. Shift. Golden Pheasant stands on right leg. And hold it here a sec. Seeing if you can let go of your lower leg, the foot, everything nice and relaxed as much as possible. And take a break. So at this point, I'll stop. I'll hand it over to Lee and keep working those psoas.
Okay, hi folks. Let us continue. I want to look at some of the forgotten parts of these moves. The main piece of it is so big. You're doing this big motion, knee and fingertips, and so it's really easy to overlook some of what else is going on. And the else that's going on will help you keep your balance and will give the move more meaning so that you don't get completely focused just on one side, but you're paying attention to all the rest of it. So the first thing I want to look at is the turning of the waist. So let's do it again. We won't stop and hold anything this time through. And let's do it again. And I want you to really look at all of the ways the waist turns. It's obvious in squatting down that the waist is turning, but then there's a whole bunch of more waist turn on the way from one to the other. So let's do it, and then I'll talk about that waist turn, just to make sure we've got that. So from single whip. And go ahead, squatting down. Obviously the waist is turning. Golden Pheasant stands on left leg. And right leg. And take a break. Okay, now be honest with yourselves. Did you notice your waist turning on the way into the Golden Pheasants? Let's do it again. I don't care if you don't get your legs up as high. I don't care if you fall over. I want you to notice if the waist is just staying pointed in one direction or if it's changing while you do this. Single whip, squatting down. Okay, watch the waist turn. Continue. Watch the waist turn. And take a break. Now there's places where there's a big waist turn, roll back. It's really obvious that your waist is turning a lot. And then there's places where the waist is engaged, but it's not as obvious that it's turning, and so it's easy for us to overlook that. So when I come out of squatting down, I'm here. My waist is actually faced to the corner, looking out over my hand. The very first thing that happens is I release, and it comes back towards the front. Then I let the foot come up. As I step, my waist will open slightly to the right side, and as I shift and free the front leg, I've come back to the front. So there's a waist turn from the left corner back to the front, the first golden pheasant, a waist turn to the right, and then back to the front, the second golden pheasant. So let's do that again, and pay attention to it now that I've told you where it is. See if you're doing that or not. So, squatting down. Go ahead. So here your waist is facing the left corner. As you let the hands come in and the rear foot move, it comes back to the front. So stop here for a second. So notice you turned from the corner back to the front. And now golden pheasant one side. Let the right foot down, and as it does that, that'll actually take your waist slightly to the right. And shift, and then let yourself come back to the front as you free the left foot, and then come up to the second golden pheasant. Again, single whip. I'll stop you those same places so you see the waist turning. So go ahead, squatting down. Waist is to the left, come back to the front, free the rear foot. Stop here for a second. Now your waist should be square. First golden pheasant. Let the right foot down before you shift the weight. Notice how when it goes down, your waist has actually opened slightly to the right. Now shift the weight, you'll be right, and as you release that left foot, you'll come back to the front, and then the second golden pheasant. So take a break. So these waist turns are little, and they happen in the moment of releasing the foot that you're about to kick with, releasing it and getting it ready to move. So I'm here, I've just come out of squatting down. As I bring everything in, I come back to the front. I'm here in squatting down. This is expanded, and I release it. Everything comes in, and my rear foot gets ready. So now I'm square. I do one. As the foot drops, it will open your waist a little bit. And as you shift, you're going to go that way, and then come back to the front, which is part of releasing the left leg so that you can bring the leg up. So we did this the other day where you stand, and do this with me again. Stand on either foot. I'll stand on either foot. In a 100% posture, so the feet are at 45 degrees to each other, and you're not trying to have shoulder wide. They're both just there. And start out facing the diagonal foot, and turn back towards the front, and let your knee buoy, and the heel come off the ground. Go back towards the diagonal foot, turn back towards the front, sinking, empty legs, knee buoys, and the heel comes off the ground. And do it again. Turn back towards the front foot, sinking, knee floats, sit bone drops, heel comes off the ground. Do it on the other side. Start out facing the angle of the rear foot, and turn towards the front, sinking, allowing the knee to float. Heel comes off the ground. Turning towards the front, sinking, allowing the knee to float. Heel comes off the ground. Once more. Turning towards the front, sinking, allowing the knee to float, heel comes off the ground. So that's, we often turn into the active leg, especially during these kicks. So, you'll often be doing that. This leg is about to kick, and so I turn towards it first, rather than trying to turn away from it, or just staying static and just picking that leg up. So I've got this turning towards it. That's part of freeing the foot so that it can do something. I'm faced this way. I turn towards the front foot, freeze the foot so that it can do something, rather than just staying there and doing something over at the side. So this is happening in the form. The feet start in slightly different positions, but I'm here and I'm turning towards my right leg so that it can come up. I step, and just naturally, the step will turn your hips slightly. You sit down, And now you need to free this left leg. And so you turn towards it, and then you're ready to kick with it. So let's do that again and pay attention to that turning. So a single whip. Get yourselves comfortable. Squatting down. Come across. Okay, you're facing the left corner. So release your rear leg and come towards the front and get your right leg already in place. So now you've turned from the left corner to the right knee can come up. Put the right leg down and notice that when you do that, that actually turns your waist slightly to the right. As you shift, go ahead and stay in the right. Now you want to come back to the front, release the left leg, and then the left leg comes up. Great. So now this isn't big. I'm not shuffling my waist back and forth. Right? You're not doing that. But there's this small waist turn that will happen. And so you want to go ahead and let it happen. Don't try to keep the waist rigid. And as it happens, what you'll see is that's a critical piece of getting the leg that's going to come up ready. And so that brings me to the second thing. There's two parts here. There's freeing that leg and getting it off of the ground and ready. And then there's actually kicking, this time with the knee and aimed into the finger. So I'm not just coming from the end of squatting single whip and trying to just come up. That would be going from big to big. That doesn't have the bellows. We never go from a big posture to a big posture. We always go through a contracted, focused place, and then it expands again. So all of Tai Chi is like you're breathing. You don't take a big breath in and then take another big breath in. You have to breathe out in between. So you fill, you empty. You fill, you empty. The same thing is happening in the form. As I come through here, this is full and big, and then everything has to get small. And then this is full and big, and then everything gets small. And then this is full and big. And as you're doing all of this, part of what you're doing is freeing the foot. If you try to do it from back here and just bring the leg up, it's going to be all force. Even if I don't fall over, I can probably manage one of these times to do that without falling. But you see how held that is and how it doesn't have the Tai Chi flow in it. So what I want to do is from here, I'm expanded, and now everything comes back in, my waist turns, and this rear foot is ready. It's ready and it's freed from the ground. I already did the work to do that. So now all I have to do is send it up. And then this side, I come back here, I turn back to the front, that frees my front foot. It's ready. So now I can bring it up. So separate the freeing of the foot from the kicking. Let's do it again. Single whip. Go ahead. So in the bellows, this is a compressed place. And now expand, and then let everything get small. And now expand, and then let everything get small. And what that does is it turns you back to the front and frees your rear foot, and the hands have come in close to me. And now you expand again. And now you're going to get small again. Shift and turn back to the front. This is small. The hands are in close. The foot has freed. And then expand. And take a break. So all through this, you want to have that bellows, and you want to have the turning of the waist. And then the last thing about this is, how do you relate to the ground during this? And so we just did this whole thing about rooted in the feet, released through the legs, directed by the waist, taking shape in the hands and knee, or hands and foot, depending on what you're doing, usually the hands. And so all this motion has to be driven by that changing relationship to ground. So this is not on the horizontal plane. I'm not here, and then I turn back to the front, horizontal, and then I lift my leg. that's got no change in the with respect to the ground. And the other thing that people will do is they'll try to think that somehow I sink and that floats the leg, like getting into a bathtub or something, and the knee comes up. And so if you do that, what it does is that sinking means that there's no power coming out through the knee. So the whole body needs to be moving together there. Now you do have to sink. I think this is where this comes from. And the purpose of the sinking there is to tap the ground and importantly to free the other foot. So when I've come back down here, I've just done one side, and I change and sink, there's the sinking. And it should be pretty clear. You should see me doing that. And it freed my leg so that it's ready to kick. But now here, I don't keep going down and have the leg somehow come up. I've hit bottom, and now the rebound comes through the body and goes into the knee and the hands. So at that point, there's actually a rising. Now you'll remember, don't throw the meat around. So I don't want to be having the body. I'm not a jack-in-the-box puppet. I'm not going... Right, it's not like that. But there is that rising and falling that goes through the body as you're doing this. So go ahead and feel yourself sinking down, freeze the foot, and then feel from the ground up through this. And that is a rising. So let's do it again. Single whip. And go ahead. Shift and turn. Elongate, and now you're coming towards the ground. Feel the ground in your right foot. Sit down and come up. Expansive. Gather, turn back towards the front. Feel the ground in your left foot. Allow that to come through right hand and right knee. Step. Shift and turn back towards the front. Feel the ground in your right foot. Your left foot is freed. And now let that rebound come up into left fingers and left knee. Great. So you want to have the expanding and the contracting, the focusing, the condensing. And you want to have waist turn involved in there. So those are things that are easy to forget. And then, how many hands do you have? You have 2. And so it's really easy to do this completely one-sided. So I'm here, and everything's on this side. And then this hand just kind of goes dead, and everything is on my right side. And then I shift, and now my right side goes dead, and everything is on my left side. So all parts of the body move when moving, all parts of the body still when still. So at the completion of the posture, all the parts arrive, including the hand that you're forgetting about. And at the beginning of the motion to get into the posture, all the parts move, including the hand you're forgetting about. So Beth talked about this with saying the left hand wakes up. So when I'm in Golden Pheasant, stands on the left side, it's not that the right side just comes down and I shift and now the right side is done and the left side goes. As soon as my foot starts going down, my left hand is waking up. It's not going to move very far. It's here at my side. The right side goes down, the left hand wakes up. You shift and let the hands go right past each other. As you come back to the front, now the left side comes up, and watch the right hand. It doesn't finish until exactly when the left fingers and the left knee have arrived. So, I'm here, everything comes in, both sides alive. The left hand here isn't going to finish until the right arrives. The right goes down, the left is awake right away. I shift, the 2 hands pass each other, I'm back to the front, here's my compressed place, and now watch the right hand. It continues so that just at the very end there, it's gotten to its final destination. It doesn't get there before the left fingers and the left knee. Let's do it again. Square. Left arm relaxed. Right arm relaxed. Squatting down. Elongate. Spiral through the body. Sit down in the right leg and then follow the fingertips up into the corner, releasing the right side. Okay, now let everything come in. You've turned back to the front, and pay attention to your left hand. As you finish the right fingers and right knee, the left hand arrives. Let the right side down, left fingers wake up right away. You shift, turn slightly to the right, the two hands pass each other. Coming back to the front, the left foot is released, and now watch the right hand. It finishes just as the left fingers and left knee arrive. So now you got a lot more going on here. You've got the turning of the waist, small but necessary, and the waist turning towards the foot that you're going to kick with. You've got the freeing of that foot so that you're not trying to do it from a place where the foot isn't freed, but you release it. You let that happen. You've got the bellows, expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. And the important thing to remind you of all the time is don't throw the meat around. So when you're working on the bellows first, you can exaggerate a little bit, but don't have it be a big thing that's tossing your body. Feel the wave of expansion and contraction going through the body, not the body making the wave of expansion and contraction. The body is relaxed and open, and you allow that expansion and contraction to happen through you rather than getting tossed on the waves. So we've got the expansion and the contraction, and then we've got two hands. We've got both sides together. Everything starts together, everything finishes together. And particularly this hand that's dropping doesn't get down while you do the rest. It's changing all the way through there. That's probably enough. So let's do it 3 more times, flowing, no breaks, and then we'll call it a morning. Okay, single whip. Of course, flowing, no breaks doesn't mean we don't get to hold single whip. So get it right. Chest is hanging, lower back is full. Hip joints, front hip joint is creased, rear hip joint is flat. Waist is exactly square to the front. Left thigh is pointed right in front of you, not angled. Left arm is relaxed. Middle segment of the middle finger lines up with the top of the shoulder. Wrist in front of shoulder, elbow dangles. Right arm is relaxed. All 5 fingers come together. All 4 proper fingers touch the thumb. Shoulder is released. And releasing down into the ground. Letting go. Okay, flow through it. Squatting down. Standing on one leg. Standing on the other leg. Again, single whip. Noticing the waist change and the bellows, the expansion and the contraction. Go ahead. Waist turning and bellowing. Expansive, small, big, and small. Waist turns. Big. And one more time, remembering that you have 2 hands. So both hands are involved all the way through here. Go ahead. Both hands. Both hands. Both hands. Left hand finishes just as right fingers and knee arrive. Left fingers wake up. Right hand finishes just as left fingers and left knee arrive. Great. Take a break. I think we're there. I have to admit I didn't watch the time, but it's feeling about right. So we're going to keep working on the kicks here. The kicks are a challenging part of the form. So don't beat yourself up over how hard they are. I think they're designed to be basically physically impossible. So they're really a place that lets us explore the limits of what we can do in terms of balance, in terms of whole body movement, and in terms of the external choreography. This thing that Beth was talking about getting the knee above the hip without perturbing the sit bone, is really physically quite challenging. And then, hold it there a sec. Then we're holding these things. So it's really difficult, and that's a good thing. So putting ourselves into the position of trying to solve the problem of the kicks means you really have to look at your Tai Chi skills. It's a magnifying glass for the things that you don't do. And the problem with them is that we can become really single-pointed. We can just be paying attention to one thing. This is so hard that all I'm thinking about is one side, and I forget everything else. So the way you do it in Tai Chi is that the whole body is involved. So trying to go ahead and getting motion through all of it. And when you do that, there'll be a lot more fun, even if you fall over. So go ahead and keep working on it. And we only have 3 more kicks to do. And so we'll be getting to those. Thank you.